Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now, special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on the show, a very special conversation with Vimal Kejriwal. He's the MD and CEO of KEC International. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. It's indeed a pleasure to be able to chat with someone like yourself, to talk to not just MSMEs which are in the manufacturing space, but to be able to tap into the wealth of knowledge that you have. So thank you once again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to start very briefly, if you can talk to us about your journey with KEC, what the association has been and how the company has grown.
So KEC, let me start with the company first. KEC is a global leader in transmission and distribution EPC. We are roughly around 9,000 crore company, and 50% of our revenues is coming from outside India. We also do railways, cables, solar and civil. That's as far as the company is concerned. We're part of the RPG group. If you look at me as my journey, I joined this company around 15 and a half years back, 2002, when the company was doing reasonably bad, let me put it this way. I joined as a CFO. And after 4 years of very difficult time of turning around the company and all that, then I got into business and took over the CEO of this company around 3 years back.
Okay, so I will come back to the journey between CFO to CEO in just a bit. But how's the manufacturing industry really changed, specifically in your industry, in the time that you've been associated with?
I think a couple of things. One is obviously the size has changed, the need is changing, because I remember in 2002, our India market was around 100 crores. Today it's more than 5,000 crores. So clearly we have grown in size significantly. Quality is something which we are clearly seeing a change in the emphasis, and a lot of emphasis on quality. The third piece is the cycle times are coming down. I remember when I joined here, the first project used to be 42 months. Now it's coming down to 12 months and 18 months. So we had to crash the entire manufacturing cycle. I think these are the three things which have happened on the manufacturing piece.
So based on that experience, what would you like to tell our viewers about how to be effective if they are working with the export market? There is a lot that is happening in India, both domestically as well as our exposure to international markets. For a small MSME player, first and foremost, would you advise that they necessarily look at international markets as a way of de-risking?
I think it's 100% necessary for them to look at the export market, not only for de-risking, but I think it changes the way you'll do business. The way your approach towards quality, your delivery time, etc. is very, very different. When I still remember that we still bring in a lot of things from our overseas projects into India, because the way we do things there with consultants, with clients, when you're competing with international players, the requirements are very different. It will definitely change the look, the way we look at business if we go into the export market.
But for a small player then, who perhaps doesn't have the kind of financial strength which is needed to be able to look at the export markets, what do you advise?
To me, one is they can, at least for our industry, they can bank on people like us. I can give an example is that we have taken so many MSMEs with us, being let's say leading global players. We have been able to take people with us to our clients, get them approved. So I think that's one easier way for manufacturers and all, is to tag along with larger players who are interested in promoting the MSMEs.
Okay, so one is of course tie-ups with companies like yourself, but the other is of course competition which is coming in from international markets. Every industry right now is talking about the kind of competition that you're facing, particularly from the Chinese markets. What would you advise? Are you seeing so much of competition in your industry from the Chinese markets? And if yes, how do we compete with them?
Let me put it this way. I operate globally. Yeah. I'm operating in the Middle East, I'm operating in Africa, I'm operating in Far East, we are in SAARC, where we clearly and regularly see Chinese competition. But in an industry like ours, which is electrical, where we expect projects to last for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, we clearly see the clients preferring Indian products and all that because of the longevity, and the Chinese products have an issue in the market. So clearly, at least in this industry, I'm not seeing a significant competition or a threat happening from the Chinese market. Also because we are all become large in size and volumes and all that. So the Chinese have a major advantage of economies of scale. And if we are able to achieve that in India, then I think we can compete, and we have been competing very successfully.
Sure. So you're saying that Indian products are known for quality, and that's not something you hear very often. Has there been a quality issue perhaps in the industry which is now being addressed, and how do you ensure that MSMEs then give that much attention as far as possible to quality as well?
See, quality issue is improving significant. I can say very clearly, I've been buying from MSMEs regularly for exports, and initially we did have problems, but then we sent our own people to sit with them, explain to them what is happening and all that, and now I'm very clearly seeing the new MSMEs is being very, let's say, aware that they have to supply a quality product. I think that awareness has changed a lot.
Okay. And is that also impacting then possibly prices and therefore competitiveness?
I don't think quality is at the cost of price. Okay. To me, what happens is if you don't do a quality product, you have to redo the work, and all the cost of poor quality is very high. Okay. So if you are able to do a quality product upfront, then the cost will definitely be lower, not higher.
As far as Make in India is concerned, a lot of our MSMEs tell us that it's a great initiative by the government, but we're yet to see anything trickling down to where we are, at the bottom of the pyramid, if you want to call it that. How do you want to maybe answer that?
So I will answer it with reference to the electrical industry. Yeah. And our main client is Power Grid. And Power Grid has made it compulsory for transformers, GIS and other equipments, whenever they issue a tender, that there is a Make in India clause. So they are insisting that all the foreigners who are the technology suppliers and equipment suppliers should set up factories in India if they want to bid for these projects. Now, if once they come to set up factories, there are enough, I'll say there are 3 or 4 opportunities which are there for our MSMEs. One is they can tie up with them as joint ventures, because most of these players do look for an Indian partner to help them in all the local issues, etc. The second piece is that once you have, or you could be a supplier to them, because all these items require huge amount of components and spare parts and other things. So that's the second piece. The third piece we have already seen, and some of the people who have done that have now become part of the global supply chain of these international players. Okay. And fourth to me is that once you are working with a company like this, what would also happen, automatically your quality and other standards get upgraded. So you are able to then supply to other players also. So to me, Make in India, at least in the electrical piece, seems to have worked a lot.
Okay. So for someone who's looking at this industry, an MSME who says, okay, there are opportunities if you're looking at government projects, 3 or 4 things that you would advise for them to keep in mind to be able to secure those projects possibly?
I think one is a deep market research. Because in government projects, what happens is most of them have tenders and all that. They have tender requirements. So you should be aware of what the government is looking for, what the tender requirements. Otherwise, many times we find that they come back and say, oh, I'm not qualified, because they have not done enough research and all that. So to me, a market awareness, knowledge of your client is something which is absolutely essential. Second is quality. And third is timely delivery. I think these are the 3 mantras which you should follow if you want to be part of this.
Okay. So on one side, of course, you're saying there are huge opportunities for MSMEs who are possibly looking at government projects. On the other side, a lot of MSMEs tell us that we work with the government, but we are not able to secure our payments on time. The government is not paying us on time. It's a very long sort of a time frame when it comes to payments. How do the two then get matched?
So 2 things are there. One is there's a law which requires everyone to make payment in 45 days. I do not know how it works or not, but like we pay all our MSMEs within 45 days. So that's one piece. Secondly, I was recently with the Railway Ministry. They had organized interaction with contractors and all that, where this issue of payments got raised. And what the Honorable Minister, Piyush Goyal, said is that we are now going to open LCs for every tender. Okay. So that, once you supply, you can just negotiate your papers and just get the money. So I think that's, to me, is the second piece. The third piece could be, I don't know how the government will do it, but if you are with private clients like us, we have our bankers who are very happy to tie up with us and with our vendors, where they will get paid irrespective of what I am doing. So I think this is something which the people should explore as to how they leverage the strength of their client. One is to get fund, second is to get fund at reasonable costs.
Okay, so on one piece, of course, you have Make in India. There's also Skill India, and a large percentage of the population that's coming into the workforce, of course, we are given to understand don't have the skill sets that are required for the jobs they are in. Do you undertake training for fresh graduates who are coming out of college? What advice would you give to an MSME? Because for them, it is an additional cost, and not a lot of them are able to factor in those costs.
So to me, we are doing 2 things. Yeah. One is we run a training institute of our own. We have a training institute in Nagpur where we train fresh people, not only, I'll say graduates, but even undergraduates, workers, technicians and all. There's a regular courses where we train them. We also run an ITI as part of our CSR, where we run specialized courses which make people employable. So that's one part. As coming to graduates and all, what we have been doing is that we run special hiring courses, I'll say batches. Every year we hire around 80 to 100 engineers, We give them a 1-year training in everything, and then they join us back, in this. So I think that's the way. But there is a clear lack of skill.
Okay.
And we need
How is that being addressed then?
I think I was talking with the railway people. At least let me because I just had that interaction, and they are saying that they have enough training institutes where they offered all the contractors and the suppliers saying we will offer free training to all your people to how to work with railways, what is our requirement. Power Grid has been willing to do the same thing. So from the government side, a lot of initiatives are coming in where they are offering a lot of facilities and training curriculum, etc. for people to get trained. Industry leaders like us and other people I know of my industry have been running training institutes where we are doing training free of cost for everyone, and they don't have to join us. They can go and join industry. I think that's what is clearly happening.
Vimal, I'll take a very quick break, but much more on the other side. We're in conversation with KEC International. Do stay tuned. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on The Crux, we're in conversation with Vimal Kejriwal of KEC International. So skilling in India, of course, you're saying is being taken care of in terms of the fresh graduates. But reskilling and upskilling, how crucial is that for an industry like yours? Do you undertake such courses within your own company? What advice for MSMEs then about being able to constantly reskill?
We clearly take those cases. In fact, we have regular courses which are developed internally where we keep on training our people into new technologies. We go into new businesses, like we expand into railways, so we had to train our transmission people to move into those businesses. So we clearly have programs. We also have a lot of e-learning programs. We have e-learning modules where the employees can go and themselves do it without anyone's help and all that, apart from the specialized training courses which we run.
Okay. So you were, of course, talking about, the kind of training that goes in as far as your employees are concerned. One thing that we also hear a lot from our employees is that we don't see enough women who are being hired specifically by your industry, specifically in pure play manufacturing. Is that, are we seeing a change there? How's that being changed? What about an MSME who says, yes, I want to hire more women, but there aren't enough qualified women in this industry?
So we'll be very happy to employ women, because what we have seen is the turnover and the stability of a woman employee is always more than what of a male employee. That's one thing very clearly. On the shop floor, I think people have been a little bit wary of hiring women employees because there are a lot of regulation. Like I'll give a simple example. If I have a woman employee, I need to have a woman security guard. I need to have a woman supervisor. I think some of these rules are changing, which are making women more easily employable on the shop floor. But coming back to the industry, we do not have too many women employees on the shop floor, but we have it on our office, and we are now deploying them on project sites. On the shop floor, we are now given very clear instructions that we need to hire more women employees. But as far as, I'll expand a little bit as a group, as part of my RPG group, we have other group companies, especially CIAT and Raychem and all that, where we have in some of our new factories, at least 30 to 40% shop floor employees are women.
Okay.
So we are very clearly committed towards hiring more women on the shop floor.
You were talking about the railways earlier. I want to circle back to that. The railways clearly is an industry and a segment where there are a lot of opportunities, particularly for small businesses. What are some of these specific opportunities? What has been your own learning from working with the railways as KEC?
Let me talk about railways in a different manner. Today we have an MSME mandate in the government of India that you have to buy 20% from MSMEs. Railways actually buys 25%. So that's one good part. The second part in railways is that most of the railway procurement are small parts. Except if you leave out the rails and the conductors, etc. The rest of it is our small parts, and they're very conducive for small players to manufacture. They don't have to put in large capital.
Sure.
If you look at my procurement, most of my procurement is actually from MSMEs.
Okay.
So there are enough opportunities which are there today, and also with the growth which the railways is planning. Last year they did 131,000 crores. This year they're talking about 145,000. We read somewhere that they're talking about 200,000 going forward, 200,000 crores going forward for a few years. There are enough opportunities. They're talking about passenger amenities, railway electrification, need for contractors, need for equipment suppliers. I think to me there are enough opportunities in the traditional piece. If you want to look at otherwise in technology and other pieces, there are enough technological products which we are still importing in into India.
Okay.
Maybe the MSMEs and the entrepreneurs can look at those products and go and tie up and do a technology transfer, start the manufacturing, because Railways is also very keen to do Make in India.
Sure. Let's talk about entrepreneurship and leadership really, and the recognition of that in India. Most companies, big companies at least, understand the need to enable their employees to think like entrepreneurs themselves, whether they're launching their own businesses or just to be able to bring better ideas and strategies to the table. What are you doing at KEC?
So let me take it, since I'm part of the RPG group, I'll probably talk about the RPG group as such. So in the group, what we did was we launched a drive whereby we invited ideas from an employees to become entrepreneurs. We actually selected a few of them, and one of them is actually doing very well. We did a piece called Seniority, where an employee came back and said, I have an idea where can we sell products of senior people which are not available at one place. So we have a physical store in Pune, it's an online, and it's doing very well. We're also looking at some other ideas which are coming from the employees and turning them into entrepreneurs. Sure. Apart from that, as part of our ventures, we are also investing in small ventures which have been promoted by individuals and entrepreneurs, etc. But all sort of related to e-commerce, digital, technology, etc. Sure. Coming to KEC, what we have done is something different. We have been working very closely with small companies in India and have been taking them overseas, getting them approved, ensuring that they supply it not only to us, to other people. I think it's been working very well.
Is it necessary for companies of your size to be able to engage in this manner with your employees?
It is. I think it's very clear, because today a lot of employees see opportunities what are happening outside. It will be better for us to leverage that internally rather than letting them go outside.
All right. Technology, of course, is changing the way every industry is now doing business. It's no different, I'm sure, when it comes to manufacturing. Just how much of technology, one, are you using in your own company? And second, at a time when everyone is talking about, VR, virtual reality, they're talking about AI, how much of that is a small company in a position to really be able to use? What have you seen?
So I'll say it in a different manner. Instead of how can they use it for promoting their businesses? Like I'll give an example. We use drones for stringing. We use drones for surveys. So all this work has been outsourced to smaller people, individuals, entrepreneurs who have bought drones, who have learned the technology, who have the software. So this is one thing which we can clearly do. AR, VR, we're not using them right now in our manufacturing, but we are right now starting to use them in our projects and all that, where we are using them for safety training. An employee can actually see that if he's climbing a tower and if he doesn't do fasten his harness, what happens if he falls? So there are a lot of things which we are using AR and VR for that. In manufacturing, we are basically IIoT, etc., to ensure machine health and how do we ensure that the machines run better. We are using things like barcodes, etc., on our consignment tracking. I think a lot of things are happening, but to me more could happen on the project execution, which is still a lot more physical.
What will be needed to be done then if you want to see more technology and automation being used actually on the production lines?
On production line, what we need to do is probably better softwares, etc. Because today, if you look at my steel wastage, I'll probably be at 4% of my steel gets wastage because I don't cut them properly. Sure. If I have proper cutting plants and all that, maybe that way. The second way is utilizing my equipments better. If I run at them for 400 minutes in a shift, can I improve that by 420 by ensuring that there are no sudden breakdowns, sure, quality, etc. I may have quality rejections. So how do I ensure that, my quality is proper, my run times are proper, my employees don't get fatigued and all that. So I think there are a lot of things which we can do. Is an employee wearing a hard hat? Okay. Can we have enough technologies and AI and all that which can tell me or tell my head of or tell my plant manager if this employee is on the floor not wearing a hat? Sure. I think a lot of things are coming, more primarily on the safety side and all that, more on the cutting plants, on softwares, etc.
Okay. So you're saying that the industry will move towards that?
100%. I think there's no doubt about it.
All right. Let's wind down this conversation then. In your professional career, is there any piece of advice that you received which has perhaps changed the way you think about work and that you would like to leave our viewers with?
I think one is to be very hardworking, and there's no substitute for hard work. And second is being fair in your dealings. I think that's one advice which I have received, saying that you need to be fair with your vendors, you need to be fair with your client. If your client is paying you something to do something, you should do that. Should not give him below what he has asked for. Same thing in dealing with employees, dealing with competitors, dealing with vendors. I think that's one trait which I have learned, and as part of our group philosophy also we are very clear on that. And I think that's helped us a lot.
Okay, and that's quite rare to hear that coming from someone like you. especially when you're saying being fair with competition. But thank you so very much for being with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow and for taking the time out.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, we love hearing from you. You can always write in. Here is our email ID, leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. On social media, tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now. You can also leave your comments for us on our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good night.